Good evening, everyone. My name is Mandela Kechwete, and I am a reporter in Cape Town. Tonight, we're talking about a topic that was actually inspired by the late Jayden-Lee Meek, who was killed in Johannesburg. His mother has been arrested for the murder and three other charges. So, the topic that we're focusing on today is who protects the boy child, um, because as a society we work overtime to protect girls and boy children. Who protects them? So to unpack this heavy topic, we have Vanessa Leroux from PISA, and we've got Kaylin Palm from Action Society, and we've got JJ Idel from FAXA, Fight Against Crime. So, Vanessa, can you please reintroduce yourself to those who were not here the last time you came to the show? You're on mute.
Hi, good evening, everyone. Thanks for having me, Mandi, again. I'm starting to being some of the furniture now on the couch. But thanks for having me. I'm Vanessa Leroux. I am from the organization Parents for Equal Education South Africa. In short, PISA. I'm the founder. So, yeah, I'm in the field of education.
Kaylin, please tell everyone who you are and what your organization does and how you actually tackle GBV and all of those things.
Sure. I'm Kaylin. I'm from Action Society. It's a civil rights organization. Basically, what we do is we do court oversight when it comes to GBV, child murders, as well as any sort of femicide cases. Did I just mention that now? Did I mention it? Yeah, mention. So we do court oversight as well as private investigations if it is needed, depending on the case or what is outstanding. So then we would help the police officers or So basically that's what we do. So on a daily basis, I'm at court. So I work with women or children who were either sexually assaulted or raped. And obviously, like I said, femicide cases.
JJ, please introduce yourself and tell us what you do.
My name is Jayden-Lee. I am leading I head Fight Against Crime South Africa, or FAXA for short. Our main focus is gang violence, especially on the Cape Flats, as well as general crime within our country. Our main focus is combating crime, so we are basically an anti-crime group. And yeah, that's basically what we do and what I'm about.
Okay, I'm asking this to the panel now. Are we missing something in our society? Are we protecting boys enough? Or like what direction also can we take? Kaylin?
Sure. I do feel that over the last 10 to 20 years, we have been focusing as a society mainly on the girl child, and I think it's quite obvious why we would do that, or why we as a society would do that, because of our crime statistics. If we look at our crime statistics, the crimes against women and children, specifically when it comes to the girl child, more crimes are committed against them. And I think, and as an organization and as a society, I do admit that we tend to forget the boy child. The reality is that there are boy children who are also experiencing violence against them. Their bodies are also being violated. As Action Society, we have taken on cases where boys have been molested. In fact, I think we still have a few cases where we are working with the boy child. So I do think that more needs to be done, and I do feel that it's responsibility of government, but it's a responsibility.
Kaylin, we're losing you. Okay, while we wait for Kaylin, Vanessa?
Mandi, I think if we look at statistics like Kaylin just said now, there should have been a turnaround in strategy a long time ago. A long time ago. But I think as GBV activist organizations and as government itself, they have become so complicit in this tunnel vision that I would actually call it lazy. Because if we say this is the root of our problem, we keep continuing protests against the violation of women. However, what are we doing about it? So then we can't focus on the victim itself. We need to focus on the root. And this should have happened a long time ago, that we focus on the boy child by ensuring that we are raising healthy boys, that we are raising respectful boys in order to avoid women from being violated. So I think government and GBV activists have become so, they have tunnel vision. They have it's pure laziness, because it's easier to have a protest to say justice for this one, justice for that one. However, it's more work to work on that boy child that's a potential criminal, that's a potential perpetrator, it's a potential raper, then to see that we look at patterns and how these things are happening, why these things are happening, where it's happening. So I think the focus in itself and the priority is completely wrong. And that is why we're sitting with this situation daily, where children are being violated, because we forget that the boy child is the stronger version, and they are the people that violates our girl children. But we are happy to rock up at court because it's easier. So if statistics shows me that the boy child is the perpetrator, then I should work on the boy child to prevent it from happening. But we as South Africans have become a reactionary country. We react when something happens. We react when we find a girl child's body. And if we ask, how do how we then protect the boy child? If the focus is there to grow and raise healthy boy children, the boy child, then we don't have to protect them, because then they automatically becomes the protector.
Okay. JJ, what's your input?
All right, my input in protecting the boy child. Look, to be honest with you, the boy child faces a lot of pressures already as is. From when they're young. Look, and our experience, especially when it comes to gang violence and stuff like that, they face a lot of external influences already, either to maybe join a gang, or they experience certain things which down the line affects them adversely. So they have these traumas that, depending on where they live and in the society that they live in, because look, at the end of the day, when it comes to society, it's your child is my child, but unfortunately that does not exist. All right. So when you're asking who protects the child, it's actually supposed to be all of us, all right? Each and every one of us. But if we're talking about the boy child, already a boy child goes through so much in terms of external influences. How can I say this? Yeah, so basically the influences, the bad influences, what they experience, and as Vanessa articulated there, they are considered as the strong ones. But we don't understand, but we don't look at the fact that a lot of the times that these children go through, traumatic events and so forth, and that trauma follows them when they are older, because then they project that trauma onto their children, and they project that trauma onto their children, and they project that sort of mannerisms onto their children and so forth. So then we start ending up with a vicious cycle of where you've got parents who are supposed to be protecting the children, but they themselves have got issues from when they were younger with their parents to protect them. So yeah, that is essentially my input on this matter.
Helen, you were making a point, but then your internet failed us. So can you just like maybe finish off what you were saying?
I can't remember where I was cut off though.
But you were talking about the stats, saying that
Oh goodness,
statistically it is
that was deep in the conversation. That was far long.
yeah. But what I'm saying is that you were saying that the girl child is mostly in the statistics, and I want to agree with what Vanessa said that at the end of the day, who are the perpetrators? Should we not work on these potential future perpetrators instead of like focusing so much on the female child, or not saying that we shouldn't, but then there should also be like maybe a balance between the two.
Yeah, correct. No, I listened to what Vanessa was also saying, and I tend to agree with that. What I was saying was that our crime statistics show that mostly children, but the girls are more victims of crime. We see that in our crime statistics, and then we forget about the boy child. Also, I feel that the boys enter into society already being the sort of perpetrators. So then we tend to forget about them also being violated. So that's I think that was my point that I was trying to make. But I 100% agree with Vanessa and JJ in terms of lacking in that department in also protecting our boy children. And also I do agree with the influences from outside, but also I think that it also starts in the home. I do feel that models and values are very, very high on the priority list. So if the boy child is educated and taught about models and values and is raised in a home that where both the father, a father figure, biological father figure is present, and we do know in our stats in our country that there are a lack of biological fathers in the home, being able to raise that boy child and teach him, this is what you do, my boy, this is what you don't do, this is how you treat a woman, this is how you treat your mother, this is how I treat my mother, or this is how I treat your mother, this is how you should be treating women. And it starts at home. So yes, the home and society and organizations form part of the solution, but also government should do their part in terms of educating communities on keeping our boy child safe.
Vanessa also made a point about, okay, fine. So then this boy grows up to be a man. JJ also made a point about traumas, like would say that some men have childhood traumas, So then how do we fix that? Because you live with a father who's traumatized himself, who never maybe had a father figure or had a father figure, but was also traumatized because this is a generational curse type of thing, So what do we do then? Because if we have adult males who are not able to guide, our boy children into, good manhood, then what do you do?
Um, Mandi, I tend to disagree, and I feel very, very strongly about this, and this is a narrative that we must denounce, and I'm speaking from experience. A child, whether it's a girl child, whether it's a boy child, a child only need one parent to believe in him, and and excuse my friends, it's nonsense that they say that a boy child that grows up without a father is easily being influenced. And no, it's wrong. I'm a single mother for 18 years already, And my son have never been disrespectful to any grown-up. And I'm doing it alone. My son have never stood on a corner. And we are not staying in leafy suburbs. We are staying in the location. It's up to me as the parent. And I want us to stop putting this label on single parent children. Please, we're doing our best here. It is not true. It is not true that single parent children are bound to become gangsters, are easily influenced. No, it's not true. What the question we should ask today is, how do we change the current narrative so that we can say we want the boy child to become the protector? Because if the boy child becomes the protector and he's equipped with enough knowledge, then we know he won't be easily violated. Then we kill two flies with one stone. He automatically becomes the protector, but he also knows how to protect himself. But let's not further label our boy children or single parents. I'm a living testimony of this, and I refuse to let anyone label my child as he will become something. My child is a gentleman. He knows how to speak to women. He knows how to speak to grown-ups. And there's many others like him. There's many single mothers doing it alone. So I refuse to let anyone or society label my child as a potential victim of gangsterism or anything bad. Because today we just pray for our children so that everything good happens to them, especially our boy children. The question we should ask is, we are so long in this narrative that gender-based violence only happened to the girl child, that the question we should ask now is, how do we change the narrative that it only happens to the girl child? That's what we should ask. Not further label our boy child, not further see the darkness that can happen to our boy child. Many people would say I would brag with my child. Yes, I brag with my child because we must start celebrating our boy child. And that we don't do enough. We don't celebrate them. We don't praise them. We don't praise them to the point where they believe they are everything. And I can't wait for society to do it. I will do it myself so that my child don't need society's validation. He only needs mine.
Okay, so let's talk about the most recent case of the teacher and the teacher who sent, pictures to a learner, grade 7V.
So he's grade 7, yes.
Okay, so obviously he was also failed, because that's his, I think, JJ, you once said that is probably his first sexual experience, and now it's been, ruined because it came from an adult, someone that was supposed to look after him, protect him in school. JJ?
Yeah, so exactly that, right? So I say that when I said that, I meant it in the sense of, look, it's his first experience, all right? This came from an adult, this came from somebody trusted, this came from his educator, and he's now going to go, okay, now maybe there is an exception to the rule, by maybe having parents that will intervene early or what have you, but this is one case of many that we don't know about. All right. What about in the situations where there's no early intervention, where there's no parent like Vanessa, for example, that will, that will intervene early, that will be there, that will say this and that and that and that, this is wrong, that is wrong. All right. So the point I was trying to make is, let's just say, let's play devil's advocate in a situation. Let's just say that, you know, he maybe didn't have anybody that intervened or whatever. He's now going to think that going forward, this is how we should treat women, or this is how women should be treated, because this is what this woman now allowed herself to this is now what this woman projected onto him. Do you understand? This goes hand in hand with the influences. Once again, external influences, external traumas, and all of these things. So now he's going to go around thinking that this is the way women should be treated. This is the way women want to be treated. And then when he gets older, that is how he's going to treat women. And so does the cycle now continue, because now you're going to find, you know, 20 years, I'm not saying that this is going to be the case. I'm saying now, for example, that you will now find, because he's traumatized like that at a young age, and because he's taught this at a young age, later on down the line, he's going to do this, and he's going to think there's nothing wrong with it. Do you understand? And then we're going to say, what, that this is society, this is how we are. But once again, it goes to that same thing. Your child is my child. We need to get back to that. We need to get back to that of your child is my child, because all of us needs to intervene. All of us. We can't just see something on TV and say, oh, yeah, that's so bad. Or we see it, you know, at the schools. Oh, why doesn't the parent intervene? It should be my responsibility to say, look here, that child is doing this, or is being influenced by that, or whatever. It should be my responsibility to go to the school and say, now, I'm not just worried about my child. I'm worried about that child also. That child also needs to, I need to intervene somehow. I need to say, look, can you guys speak to the child? That is a way of me intervening. Besides just the common thing on the, you know, when you see children acting the way they act on the road sometimes, you going there and tell them, no, stop that. Some people don't do that. They just look at them and they say, wow, look at where these children come from. So, to answer your question, yes, indeed, that teacher failed that child. And it's a good thing that, you know, his mother and his aunt, his family intervened when they did. That is a prime example of, a prime example of society stepping in. It's a prime example of coming from a good home. But what if in a situation where that is not, you know, available to that child? Do we not all as society then have to step in?
Definitely.
Kaylin?
100%, 100%. I 100% agree with JJ in that it's a multifaceted approach in terms of community, residents, organizations stepping in. It cannot be done alone.
Just in there, Mandi. To be honest with you, if I look at the primary case, and I look at the Jayden-Lee case, and I can't remember the boy of Springbok that went missing earlier this year, while the Jocelyn case was ongoing. And if you look at it in a whole, that boy, no one literally looked or was seeking for this boy. Everyone was focused on the Jocelyn case. But here's a boy that's missing, that's 11 years old. And to be honest with you, if I just take the two cases, I was so ashamed to be a woman. I was so ashamed to be a woman, because we are natural protectors, we are natural nurturers. And this is what we are doing to our boy children. And boys are naturally closer to their mothers. And that's also why I say I denounce the fact that people say, oh, a boy child need a father in his life. Because as his mother, I'm the best person to show him how to treat a woman, how to speak to a woman, because I'm a woman. If he doesn't have respect for me first, then he won't have respect for any other woman. So I tend to disagree with that narrative that a boy child needs a man. It's when I was smaller and my child cried and someone said, oh, boys don't cry. I said, yes, he's supposed to cry. He's supposed to cry. If he's hurt, he's supposed to cry. It's okay. He doesn't have to show anyone his manhood. He can just go to the toilet, then he will know he's a man. He doesn't have to show anyone anything. And this is the narrative that I still believe in. However, I'm looking sideways at women these days. I'm truly looking sideways at women these days, and it feels like literally like it's emotionally draining, because you can't believe that as women, as mothers, we are doing this type of stuff, killing our own children, being part, taking men over our children. This can never be acceptable. And I don't think we should focus now more on, and as much as social media is a good tool, it's also a tool for sensation, because you don't get the community involved anymore, because it's easier to type a comment, I shame, it's easier to write a petition. But where are you physically? We need you physically here to say, no, this is unacceptable. The question should be, how do we get government from that tunnel vision? Because why? The Minister for Women and Children in the presidency, she's missing. She's missing. DSD is missing. SEPS is missing. And the worst thing that we've experienced personally these past few weeks is that these entities are seeing us as activists as the enemy, when we hold them accountable for our children and for what should happen. The question for me is, how do we change the narrative? How do we say we would rather spend the resources on building stronger young men and women, that young men specifically, that can be the protector? Then we denounce crime, the girls are protected, and we know that we are raising a healthy society where we don't have to watch out for these children becoming these perpetrators, and they have enough knowledge to protect themselves, not to be violated by any woman, because now it's a free for all. We've seen this now. It's a free for all. It's not only men anymore, it's women that's taking the center stage now.
Yes, I was actually thinking while you were talking is that, with Jayden, I mean, obviously everyone who watched Althea's live, they sympathized over TikTok, but then she came to Cape Town, and there were very few people who were there, to support them. So my question now is, in fact, maybe it's not a question, it's just a comment on what you were saying, that there's Justin who's missing, who's a girl, and all focus is on Justin, but not on a boy child who's gone missing. So had it been a girl child that was found half naked, bruised like Jayden was, then it would have been maybe more, it would have been a big protest. I think everybody would have, newspapers, TV would have been there, for that protest. But because it was a boy child, and it didn't matter where he's from, because even here, people in Cape Town, they know about the story. It's a national story. So anyway, I've opened the comments, and I just want to anyone who has a question, please send us a question. Your questions, I do have a few questions that were sent to me before the live. I just want to say, so this one is from Rabia. What does protecting the boy child look like in our communities today? I'm not sure if we covered this, but are you talking, JJ? Oh, okay, fine. So, do you think that the society has neglected the emotional needs of boys while focusing on girl empowerment? Kaylin?
Yes, absolutely. I think I mentioned it earlier on that we are missing that the boy child and its emotional traumas or physical traumas or sexual traumas that they are experiencing. And like the other two have said, Vanessa as well as JJ, that we need to do more. But we also need to put pressure on government to do their bit. And also, I think while we were talking, I was thinking of role models. I think that role models also in our communities play a huge role in shaping our young women, our young men. I listened to Vanessa when she was speaking about single mothers, and I think they're doing a great job in raising good young men across society, across Cape Town, across the Western Cape. I'm from Mitchell's Plain, and I can see that. I do feel that in terms of, like, when kids join soccer clubs and cricket clubs and or any sort of grouping, I mean, those men or men in those groupings, I mean, they also play a huge positive role in shaping our young people. So I do think that positive role models will also help shape our young men.
Okay, here's
And
another one. JJ, I think you should answer this because you are the male amongst us. Ne? So sorry, someone is knocking.
knocking.
How do we hold perpetrators accountable? No, sorry, no. This one is for JJ. How do gender stereotypes affect the way boys are allowed to express their pain or trauma?
Okay, so gender stereotypes. Okay, so this is now in terms of, because you are a boy or you are a man, you can't show emotion. You have to have this so-called toxic masculinity, and all of this. So yes, definitely there is. But okay, let me put it this way. All right. Just to go to Vanessa's the answers that she says. Look, we must not downplay the contribution men have in boys' lives. All right, we must not downplay the contribution fathers have in their sons' lives. I'll give you a simple example myself. All right, if I'm going through an issue, let's say with my girlfriend, all right, I got an issue with her, for example, she's maybe, we had an argument or what have you, and then obviously I would react in a certain way, all right. What I would then do is that I'll go to my father and tell him, look here, so and so, I've had an argument with her, and this is what she said, and whatever and whatever. His contribution will be positive in the sense that, look, you are a man, but at the end of the day, she's a woman. You must understand that this is her feelings. You need to cater to her feelings. You need to understand where she's coming from. And the reason for that is he's got experience. He was married to my mother. You understand? He's been married for decades. So he understands the relationship part of it. Now, let's say, for example, in terms of work or whatever, or just going through daily lives, your father has a positive contribution in terms of, like, saying, look, this is how you maybe handle it, because he's been through those lessons and he's passing those positive lessons on to me. Now, we as men face a lot of pressure in terms of how we should handle things. If, for example, let's just say now I'm in a schoolyard, in high school, all right? And somebody makes a joke towards me or whatever. Automatically, it's like, okay, because you're a boy, you need to stand up for yourself and you now need to go fight him. But the proper way of dealing with things is going through the process, going to complain to your teacher, going to complain to your principal or whatever. But because I'm a man, I need to go and knock his teeth out. That doesn't mean that it's necessarily right to do. So stereotyping does have an adverse effect on men, because it puts so much pressure on us on how we should act, on how we should be, the things that we should say, how we should express ourselves, for example. So I can't express myself in a certain way because society dictates that because I'm a man, I have to act a certain way, I have to be a certain way. So it does have an adverse effect on it, because Look, it's honestly the stereotyping thing. It's honestly it's what contributes to toxic masculinity, and it's something that we should address. But we should not downplay the contributions that fathers, for example, have to young men or their sons or what have you.
Mute, Mandi.
You are on mute, Mandi.
And here I am talking and talking and talking. So I just want to introduce you to Tracy Lynn Reiters. She's a colleague of mine. She also has her own column. What's your columns? What's it called? Raising Tracy.
Yep. So it speaks to me growing up a mommy of two young boys
Okay, so
and the
just
life lessons that goes with it.
talk to us about how you are raising your boys to be responsible men, and also, I mean, like, what are the struggles that you've gone through? Just briefly, because I still need to go back to the comment.
Okay. Sorry, guys. I also needed to join in late because I had baby and no babies were allowed. So basically, this column also taught me a lot as a mommy because I didn't know I was learning things until I started writing about the experiences and things. Look, I was listening to what JJ said now, and one of my most recent pieces was about peer pressure. So now you know how peer pressure goes. There's that one friend that tells you to do something, and you don't say no because you want to be cool and all those things. So my child was told, if you're gonna tell your mommy, then you're gonna look like a girl. You're gonna be a girl, So that stigma again. You understand? There's a stigma attached to, if you tell somebody you weak. So we had to speak him through that. We had to tell him it's okay to say no, it's okay to trust mommy, you can come tell mommy, you don't have to be scared. So as much as they are learning, we also have to learn. You understand? And try and break that stigma of boys have to be the strong one. Boys can't complain about certain things. Because I feel like that's why a lot of things happen, is because there's a stigma attached to it. We don't usually see a woman as a perpetrator. So we don't expect the boy to come and tell us something happens. So I think it's something that really needs to change. That we have to tell our boys it's okay to feel weak every once in a while and to open up about it.
Okay, thank you, Tracy. Okay, let me just read these comments. Okay, Owen said 100% agree on the role model aspect for young men. It's vital. And then out there, the community activist that has been behind the Jayden-Lee Meek justice, like she's been organizing marches and all of that. So she says, my fight has always been for the boy child. However, it's a difficult fight. GBV does cover boys and men. Is that true, Kaylin? When you talk about GBV, do you include boys and men?
I don't know what the general it's a tricky one, but gender-based violence it's supposed to cover all genders. I think most of the cases are women, so it leans to. I honestly, you know what? I'm going to give up on this one. But I do feel that gender-based violence, if we speak about gender-based violence, it's usually women. It's usually women. If we speak about gender-based violence as Action Society, as an organization, we cover both women and girls and boys when it comes to children. So our definition is a bit different in that we cover the boys and the girls. But I think the general society is just gender-based violence. It would be women. I don't know. Yeah.
Okay. Vanessa, Is she still here? Vanessa, are you still here?
Yes, I'm still here.
Vanessa?
Yes.
Okay, fine. So this one is directed to you. It's coming from Althea. Vanessa, I understand what you're saying. However, men need to take back their rightful place in society. What would you say to that?
The thing is, Arthur, if we say men needs to take back their rightful place in society, and I'm of firm belief that if we want to curb gender-based violence is like racism. The more if black people speaks on racism, white people and the history where we're coming from, white people automatically gets defensive. So the same with gender-based violence. If women speaks on gender-based violence, men are either quiet, absent, or they on the defense. Oh, but I don't do this to my daughter, I don't do that to my wife. So that's another element. However, what we also need to install into our children is that life happens, stuff happens that we don't have control over. And I'm going to take my personal case. My son's dad died, literally died when he was 16 months old. I don't have control over death. So who am I going to hold accountable? Now I must step into the role of both. But what I've learned is that the sooner we set the boundaries with our children, the better it is raising them. We need to set boundaries from a very, very early age with our children, and especially our boy children. We need to tell them it's okay to show emotion. It's okay to cry because you are human. Because I believe it's only a strong man that can cry and that can show emotion. That's not a weak man, because it means he was hurt at some point. He cried, he let it out, and he's busy healing. That's what it means. That's not a point of weakness. That's a point of strength. That's a man that knows himself. And this is the type of programs and conversations that we need to have with our young boys from a very young age. That it's okay for you to show emotion. That makes you a strong man. That makes you a better communicator. That means you don't have to use your fist to bring your point across. But as grown-ups, many times we can't even have a conversation without using our fist. So how do we then expect a young boy or a young child to have that type of emotional intelligence if we can't show it, if we don't have it? So I think the question we should ask ourselves is not how do we protect the boy child anymore, is how do we equip the boy child with what life is going to throw at him. That's the name. How do we change the narrative of society in itself, that it's only the girl child that can be violated? As women, we must be honest and say, we are busy failing. We are busy failing, and we are busy becoming the worst of the worst. If we kill our own children, if we kidnap children, if we steal children's lives and innocence, then we must be honest and say we are becoming the problem. Then we need to have a discussion before it's out of control. As women, we need to have a discussion because we are the cornerstones. We are the protectors. Now we need to step in and say, not in our name. Not in our name. It's not going to happen. It's not going to go further. We are not going to say rest in peace anymore. Because how do we say what peace is there for a 11-year-old child that died in the most brutal way? What peace is there? What peace do we expect? So as women, we have a lot of work to do, and we can only hope that men would walk in front of us and not behind us.
Okay, so if you've just joined the show, we are about to wrap up, but this is On the Couch with Mandi. I've got my guests here. We're talking about the protection of the boy child in our society. And when we say that, we are not saying that all men, all men are bad or they're incapable of being nice in our society. But what we are saying is that uh, we need to protect boy children. We need to balance the focus and not just focus on girls. And I've seen that there are so many comments here that are saying that even like they're talking about fathers who raise their children on their own. And yes, we've got those cases. And I mean, you do get fathers who are very, very, very good, you know, that you can never, ever, ever say, okay, fine, they've done this to their children, you know, because they raise them very well, you know. And then so then you've got the case we dealt with, the boys involved after counseling. Monthly is raising something here, but okay, fine. All right. Let me just go back to those questions that I received. I can't go back to, I wanted to read Althea's comment, but I can't go back. Oh, there was something about JJ. Um, what about those men? And maybe also, Kaylin, you can help me with this. What about those men? Obviously, we were talking about stereotype. Also, Tracy touched on the stigma. Now, men who are essayed, you know, sexually assaulted, now they want to go to the police station. They want to report this matter. Um, how do they go about that when they know exactly that the police are going to laugh at them? Aibo, you are what? You know, uh, uh, Action Society deals with GBV, deals with rape. How many cases do you have of males, you know, who were actually sexually assaulted? Do you even have those cases?
Yeah,
Keelan?
we have a case of a boy in, I think it was the Bahar area. He was allegedly raped by someone who gave him a 5 rand in exchange. Anyway, so yeah, so the boy was raped, and um he was embarrassed to tell his father that happened. He was 13 at the time. He was embarrassed, and eventually it eased all through the court system. So we have that case. And then we also have men who approach our organization where they were also sexually assaulted. And they find that police do not want to take them seriously when it comes to them reporting the case. So we do have that stigma. I hope that in the next few years that we move away from that, and that our police change their perspective in terms of men also being violated. So yeah, it's a definite concern for me, because if that 13-year-old boy was reluctant to tell his father and his mother that this happened to him, what would have come of him? So it's a major concern for us as Action Society, and as an organization, that our men and our boys are not taken seriously, or maybe they feel that they can't express how they feel if they experience trauma.
KJ?
All right, so men feeling ashamed about reporting being sexually assaulted. Now, let me say something now. No, it's going to maybe sound a little controversial. I think men should actually come forward and take responsibility. During the men trash movement, right? There was a movement some time ago about how men are trash, or the men are trash movement, or hashtag men are trash, or something to that effect. When that happened, right? There was, you had your celebrities and whatever, that where they had a conversation with just men. I don't know what it was called, but they had a conversation with just men, where men came forward and they, expressed themselves, and they touched on the topics of toxic masculinity and so forth and so forth. Now, in order for another man to feel comfortable to come to me and tell me that, look, I've been, sexually assaulted, without the fear of being, feeling humiliated or whatever, he needs to understand that I will project that onto him, to know that he is comfortable telling another man, look, I have been sexually assaulted. So we as men, as all men in society, need to come forward and speak to our fellow men and tell them, look here, we are all facing this. Let us be vulnerable together, in the sense that if you have an issue, let me not judge, because we understand better than anybody else. We understand the pressures that you are going through. And in order to break that stereotype, we need to be able to, the saying, of course, being, we listen and we don't judge, right? So I think when it comes to men expressing themselves or coming forward as being victims of gender-based violence, being victims of sexual assault, being victims in all of this, and then coming forward and being able to do so without being judged, it all falls actually on us as men, being able to allow them to be, to express themselves, and allow ourselves also to be approachable, in that sense, to say that I'm not going to judge you, I'm not going to humiliate you, I'm not going to make you feel some type of way because you've been victimized. You understand? So in terms of that stereotype, what will break it is actually not anything else but us as men. We need to break that stereotype. We need to be the ones to, how can I say, express ourselves. We need to be the ones to break the chains of this so-called toxic masculinity. So during the Menno Trash movement, there was a very, very important piece, or very, very important part that happened in there, where there was a discussion. I think it was on TV and stuff like that. They had a whole thing around it. And they had like all these men around, and they had this discussion. And I think it was only once off. It didn't happen again after that. And I think we need to promote more things like that, where men can come out and they can see their role models, for example. And once again, your role models plays a vital role, right? So if I see, for example, Sia Kolisi being vulnerable on TV, I'm gonna say, but yeah, this is, he's a rugby player. This guy can run over anybody. He's a definition of a man. He's a man's man. But if he can be vulnerable, then why can't I be vulnerable? Why can't I do the same? Do you understand? So role players in our society as men need to come forward, and they need to break that stereotype and influence the rest of us. And, to say like, look, you know what, you can be vulnerable, you can be a victim, and this is how you can get help.
Also, with what JJ is saying, do we still have or had like men's groups in communities where men and boys can come together and talk and do like activities and programs? I think that would also be really, really helpful and effective.
We do actually, and one of our of my guests, Lungile, he actually runs an organization, Amadoda Koto, where he teaches young boys, the rights and the wrongs, and I feel bad that he couldn't connect, because he would have been able to tell us, like what they do. But it's fine, it's okay, maybe next time. Tracy, how can the media change this perspective that men are trash, that men are the devils in us, in our society? Because I believe that the media has the responsibility to push a different narrative, or has the ability rather.
The subject Yes, as the ability rather. Look, a lot of the times it's the question was, I saw there was a question earlier about GBV, is it just women and children, girl children? Um, and I think that is also where the media gets it wrong a lot, right? GBV is not just your woman, it's not just your girl child. There are cases where men are being abused. Do you understand? So I think for us to also report on those issues and call it GBV and say this is a GBV case, because it is a GBV case. So for media to also step up and say this is GBV, it's not just women and girl childs, it's also men, it's also boys. So we do need to highlight that, and we do also need to highlight that boys also is like you got everyone said here, boys also has feelings, men have feelings, this is what they go through. We have to speak to them, go out and do that profiling, that victim profiling, and say this is how they are feeling, because a lot of the times we only do it with a woman, with a girl child, but we don't do it with the men. So we don't really know what's going on in your mind, how are you feeling, are you feeling ashamed? Because to us it's not GBV. And I'm going to be honest, a lot of the stories that I did is woman and girl child. um but yes, there are also safe houses. I did a few stories where there's safe houses. There's one run by Cindy Evans, for men and boys. So you to do Zela centers as well, and so there's a lot of place out there. But we as journalists, we do need to get that open to men and boys as well.
Okay.
Maybe just to get into to that to where JJ speak about this campaign that ministerish. Um, I always say I'm not a feminist. Um, I'm a mother. I'm a sister. I'm a friend. So I can't say ministerish. However, and I think these cases of these boys that came out recently really got me to the point where I ask myself, what is our contribution as women to what men are today? Because as women, we tend to think it's okay to be abusive. We tend to say it's okay if we do that, as long as men don't do that to us. However, we forget that men thrive on respect and ego, where we as women are emotional beings, and we literally take that ego and that respect, and we shrink it to the point where that man don't speak anymore, and that's abuse. That's abuse. But then we expect a healthy man who's been crushed in his own home, and that type of behavior now he's not communicating anymore, and he sit with a boy child, with a woman that constantly raises her voice, that constantly disrespects this man, and this boy child is picking up on everything. This boy child is picking up, and he think it's okay for a woman to be this loud, abusive, verbally abusive, and then the men must just keep quiet. You think that's healthy. And that's why I say it's not necessarily that a two-parent household is a healthy household. How is that a healthy household if the head of the house is not okay? And maybe I will sound basic now as going back. However, why do we need men to be strong? Why can't you just be my partner? Why can't we fill each other? Why can't we be partners in whatever we want to accomplish? Whether it's creating a healthy home, healthy children, helping society. Why do I need you to be stronger? Why can't we be strong together? And that's the question we need to ask. That's the pressure that we need to take off men in order for them to communicate, to be healthy, and to be the best version of themselves. That's the question. So no, men is not trash. Men is there to help us, to assist us, where we can't pick up the brick, but we can pick up the pipe. He will be able to pick up the brick because he's the stronger. That's the version. That's the stronger version we want of them, not the one that hits us. We want the stronger version of them to assist us in building a better society.
Thank you, Vanessa. If anybody wants to share anything before we say goodbye, Kaylin, Tracy, JJ, V. Okay, V, you've said your last bit. Let's just hear JJ. Do you have anything else to add before we close off the live? But I just want to say we are going to have this video available on YouTube. Just search my name and my surname. You'll find all the videos of all the lives that we've had. So this is episode 8. It will be available soon. And also do follow us on Facebook, On the Couch with Mandi. And yeah, also like and subscribe on YouTube. All right. JJ?
Look, I just want to clarify, right? So, Vanessa, I completely agree with everything that you said, but I wasn't trying to say, I just want to clarify that I wasn't saying that we're not trash. I was referencing a certain period whereby that movement was called Me Not Trash. It was highlighting gender-based violence and it was highlighting toxic masculinity and so forth and so forth. But in that period, there was conversations that men had amongst men and so forth. And I was saying that men have a responsibility to play in breaking the stereotypes. So just to clarify that I wasn't saying men are trash. I was just referencing a certain period of where there was activism and so forth around gender-based violence.
Okay. Tracy, anything?
Yeah, I just want to again. I'm very hard on the stigma thing where boys have to be strong. Boys, you can't speak out. You can't cry. You know, in a lot of our colored homes, that's the thing. If the boys start to cry, keep your mouth. Don't cry. Why are you crying like this? Go to your room. Go sort yourself out. Like have a chance. And like I've learned that I was that mommy before until I realized. Wait, man, Matt trying to speak. Let me just be quietly and listen to what's saying. A lot of the times, what they say, okay, sometimes it is just talk, but a lot of the times you also learn and you give them that space to grow. So we need to stop that stigma. We really need to stop that stigma of boy and child needs to be strong, go sort yourself. It's fine to speak, it's fine to cry, it's fine to speak out. And it starts at that foundation where they can feel confident within themselves to speak out about things. Because at the end of the day, if they're not going to feel confident at a small age, a young age, what are they going to be or turn out as an older person? So just that stigma is very odd.
Kaylin?
No, Mandi, I just wanted to say, and I think I said this to you earlier today, that it is a great topic to speak about. I think that we don't zoom a lot into our boy children. I think that it's encouraging that we have these conversations and continuously, not only now, like I think someone said earlier on that we very reactive, especially when it comes to government. But let's continue having this conversation as society, as residents, as community of TikTok or social media, just to obviously get that word out there. And thank you, Tracy, as well, for covering the stories that you do, and including you, Mandi. And just encouraging to see that you do that and continuously do it. So thank you for having me.
Thank you. Well, there you have it. Boy child is as important as the girl child, but we just need to find a way to navigate through, the stigma, the stereotypes, the movement, men are trash movement, to appeal to the society to take care of not only, you know, the girls, and also take care of our future leaders, you know, in our societies. So thank you so much for joining Mandi and the rest of the guests. So we will see you next week. Next week, we might have a slight change. On Monday, we will be welcoming our Western Cape Police Provincial Commissioner, General Tembisile Patikile, and it will happen midday, which is very different. So, midday on Monday, we are going to have him on the couch, and he is going to answer everything that we have been asking ourselves. So, brace yourselves and enjoy. Good night, everybody. Thank you for joining my live. I know I'm going to invite you again. So, this is not the last time you're on the couch. JJ is always on the couch with us, and he's also known as Junaid now. So thank you so much, and enjoy the rest of your night.
Yeah, why was you say I'm always at the couch? People gonna think I'm lazy. Yo, 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 yo.